In this video I'm going to show you how to create a login system with edit profile. So this is the project of inventory system. So here we are in the first section. So before getting into the project, I would like to show you the database. So we have a database inventory system which has these number of tables. So in this particular section we are going to focus on user details. So this is a table name. We have some set of columns, email, password. So to log in we just need the email and password. So if you see, the email and password are both the same. So if I log in, it is allowing me to get into the index page. So if I click on profile, it is allowing me to edit it. So this is the name, this is the email address, and this is the password. It is saying if you don't want to change the password, leave it blank. So let me change the name to simply, I have removed the last name to and added simple N. If I click on save, it says record saved successfully. So if I click on profile, it is, even after getting refreshed, the name N has shown up. Now let me remove the N also and click on submit. It says record saved successfully, and if I click on refresh, it is going to be name. The same way, if I wish to change the email, click on submit and it says saved successfully. And now if I see, if I browse, if I click on browse in the database, and you can see the email ID is changed. Email ID and password is different now. So I want to change the password as well. So this is the password. Let me remove the last name. So if I enter the password and leave the re-enter password blank and click on submit, it is going to show me a validation says password does not match. The same way, if I type something different which is not in the enter password, anything, if I type something, anything, it is again going to say, let me refresh and show you. So this is the actual email which I have copied it from here. Then if I type something like this number over here, if I click on submit, it is not going to save. It says password does not match. Now I'm copying it again and pasting it here, and I'm going to paste the same thing which I have added here. No, we have to remove this last name. So if I added this, now both of them will match, and it says record saved successfully. So if I look into the database, previously it was the last name is added. Now if I click on browse again, if you notice, the last name has gone. Now if I log out and I log in with the same which I have just now edited it, it will allow me to log in again. Fine. The second thing is, now this user is active, that's why it is allowing me. If I make it inactive, it's a enum. If I make it inactive and try to log in, let me log out and try to log in, it will say your status is not active, contact master. Here the master is simply the admin. So here this guy is admin. If I try to log in, it will allow me to log in because he is already a his account is active and he is master. Fine, that's all for this video. Get the source code in the description. So this section is going to be 1 hour long. Stick to it and complete it till the end, and meet you in the next section. That's all for this video. Alright, in this module we are going to see how to create database for this inventory management system. As you can see, we have a database called inventory management, and we have some tables: brand, category, inventory order product and user details. So if you click on brand, you will see brand ID, category ID, brand name and status, and the status is enum. Likewise, we have category ID and category name. Category status is again an enum. Then inventory order inventory order ID, user ID, inventory order total, order date, order name, order address, status. This is payment status and this is order status. Both of them are enum. You can see these are the data types which I have created. So don't worry, I will leave the text notepad in the description to follow along. Fine. Now let's get into the inventory product. So this is the primary key, and then we have order ID of this inventory order. It's a foreign key. Then we have product ID, again a foreign key. Then quantity, price and tax. Then we have product table, which has columns product ID, category ID, brand ID. These two are foreign key. Foreign key is nothing but this same ID will be available on category as well. You can see in the category we have category ID, and in the product we have the same ID over here. So in the category ID it's a primary key, so the primary key of category ID we are using here, so that's why we are saying it as foreign key. Fine. Now let's get into the another user. This is user details, and then we have user ID, email, password, name, type and status. And the type is a enum, and the status is again enum, active and inactive, and master and user. Now let's create the login page. To create the login page, let me open the file first. So this is a folder, or you can say this is our project name. At present we just have the notepad, which I have opened it on my screen. So at present we have just notepad. So let me create another file using the Visual Studio Code. Let me open it. So we have opened the Visual Studio Code. So let me open our project, open folder, and then on the htdocs we have our inventory management, select folder. So you can see it is open here. So let me create a file, Control N. Let's save it, and I'm going to name it as login.php, and another file which is header.php, which will hold the header information of the HTML. So this is the header. So let me copy it and paste it. So here you can see we have the CDN of Bootstrap, and again we need the CDN of data table. Let me paste it over here. So this is a link which gives the data table. So we have one link tag. Actually it should work. Link tab, not working, so I type it. Instead of typing, I'll copy paste it. In the link we'll just paste the link which we got in the URL, cdn.datatable, and then we have two script, external script, which is again a CDN. Just copy it for the first one, and this is for the second one. So our CDN is linked and our header is ready, and I'm going to call this in our login.php. We are going to call it with the help of function include and header.php. So if I type login.php, localhost, inside the localhost we have a project called inventory management, and inside the inventory management login.php. So if I press Ctrl U, you can see the files which I have inserted on the header.php is available on the login.php. Fine, that's working. Now I need to add some HTML for that. This is a login page, so we should have email ID and password login form. So let me copy paste it in the from the W3 school. You should type form and you'll get the page. Actually we need the Bootstrap, not the HTML form. we're using the latest Bootstrap version. The latest Bootstrap function is version is 5. We are using the fourth version of Bootstrap. We'll copy this whole thing and paste in our code, and here we'll just have the same file name, which is login.php, which is our file which we are right now. We don't need this remember button, email ID and password, and then submit. And we have the name is missing. Let us give the name, which is email. Password is again pwd, and let's give the input type submit. So let's create we are going to create the file called database connection db.php. so this file will have the connection details of the database. So usually these are the connection details. We have to write it inside the PHP localhost, and our username is root, and the password is blank, and the database name, here we have the same name, which is this one, as our project name. So if this is set, we won't get any error. I'm going to use the procedural one, not the object oriented one. So if everything is set, we won't be getting any message, and before getting that message, what I need to do is I need to include it. So anyways, we are going to include header, so I'll include this in the header file, include, which is a file name db.php semicolon, and if everything is set, we should not get any error. If there is an error, so that means the connection is not set. So we will make a mistake, like roots, username is root actually, but I'm making it wrong. It is not showing up. Let me open db.php. It is loading. Let us check. It should not open because I have given the wrong credential. The problem, you can see I'm including the same. We should not include here. We have to include this in the header.php. I'm sorry for that. PHP, and let us open the login and check. As you can see, this is saying the user access is denied because the username is wrong. So if I give root, you see the form is loading. If I make it wrong, like anything other than root, it is going to give me the error. Fine. Email, password. So our database is set. Now let's write it inside the container so that we can get some space on the left and right of the form. Margin top 5. If you want, we can have h3 log here, class as text center. So at present, let us create a user. Insert the user ID, its primary key is auto increment. Let me type my name vishal@gmail.com, and the password is the same, and the name is Vishal, and the type, we have two type, either master or user. Will make anything. Let me make it master. The status is active. Let us click on go, and let's insert another guy which is not a master. Again agnal@gmail.com, and the username here is agnal, and the type here is user, and the enum is inactive. Click on go. So at present we have two users, Vishal and Agnal. Fine. Now let's check it with our database. If is set, which is our name, $_request. If it is set, then echo you click on submit, just for checking. Login.php, click on submit. It's an email @gmail.com. This is working. So what we are going to do is we are going to get the input field of username and password, name, email, and here the name is password. Let me store it into a PHP variable so that I can access it. Email, password. Fine. Now we need a SQL query. Select SQL query. Select what we need. We need all, which is from the database table. I have not mentioned the table name over here. Let me copy paste it from here so that we don't have to type again and again. This is the database name. So we don't need the database name, we need the table name. So the table name here is user details, and we are running this query and we will get the result. So if the result returns more than 0, actually it is going to return an array. If the count is greater than 0, then we are going to display the column user ID, username, username, and then we have user type, either it's master or slave. So now let's check. We don't need select all, we need, if you see, the select all is running and it displayed all the value which is in the database. We don't need that. We need the select star from table where the username is equal to, so not the username, it's the email. The email is equal to the email which I am going to pass it right now. Concatenation, and the password is equal to which is this one. If both of them matches, then only display the value. So it is because we have to pass the email in the single quotes or single quotes, not on the double quotes. Concatenated. Fine. If I see 0 result. Now we have not submitted yet, but we are receiving. Let me remove that so that we won't see any error. Sorry, we won't see any message. Now we will type what is there. This is the email ID and this is the password. Submit, and it is getting. So let me type which is not there, anything. Now it says 0 result. Now we need to check one more thing. The one more thing is, if we are getting it and if the user type or the user status, we need the user status If the user status is active, then we need to create a session. If the user status is active, then display the while loop. The while loop will display the name, type and ID. Let's check again. We'll get it over here. Sorry, it's not admin, it's master, right? If the user status is active, then display vishal@gmail.com, vishal@gmail.com, submit. On line number 15, actually the row is over here. Now let's check. It is displaying. Now if I type the wrong, not the wrong one, but the status is inactive, let me get into the login.php file, click on submit, and you are getting on the else part. What I will do is I'll else will create a variable and we'll say you are not active, contact master. We'll declare this variable on the top, which is a string. And we'll display it over here above the form, php $message. Let's check. Let me remove this. Login.py. Let me log in with the inactive status. We should write echo. You are not active, contact master. Again, if I log in with the username which is active, which is Vishal, and you will see the result. If the user is not active, then we will get the message you are not active, contact master. Fine. Now once it is active, we need to create a session, $_session. We need to create some 3 sessions. So these 3 are type, user ID and the username, which we can get with the help of this one. User ID is over here, username is this one, and user type, which we know, which we have used it on the if condition. So let's create another file which is index.php. So let's include the header.php. Fine. Now once it is login, once the session is created, I want it to redirect to the index.php. Let's refresh and try again. You have to see it says message is not defined. We have to write if condition here. If the message is not blank, it says it is undefined, right? So the one solution what we can do is, instead of placing here, we have to place above, so we don't need if condition. Fine, let's try with the login ID which is inactive, so that we will get a error message saying that contact master, and we won't get redirect. You are not active. Fine. Now let's type with the email ID and password which is active. Now it will redirect to the index.php, and now that's working. Now on the index.php, I want the header to display the navbars. So this is the Bootstrap navbar. Let us get this one, paste it, and before that we should check if, which is the PHP, if $_session, which is either user ID or either username or either type, if either of them is set, if it is set, if it is not set, then redirect to login.php, which is location : login.php. Fine. Now we need to write, or we need to create some links, which is user 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, total 7. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7. The first one is going to be the user details. The second one is going to be the category. The third one is brand. The fourth one is product. The fifth one is order. The sixth one is profile, and the seventh one is logout. Logout.php, profile.php. Likewise, I'm going to create all these pages. So once I click on, now I'll create the logout page. In the logout page, we'll use the session destroy function to delete the created session. So we want to display, so leave it. Okay, that's fine. Let's check and refresh. That's active now. Login, redirect. So we need to start session underscore start. My XAMPP is working. Let me see. We have used a session, so whenever we use session, we need to use the session start. So what we do is we'll write it on a common file, which is header, which will be accessible to login, index, or we'll write it over here. Login also has the head, index also has the header. Fine, let's check. The problem is that it is redirecting. The header is available on the login as well. That's the thing. So we have to write this code over here, which is if the session is not set, else display this we'll write the whole thing on the index.php. So the session is active, the user is active, it should redirect to the index.php. You can see the links are available. So let me create another file which is logout.php. So again we need the header file, and we are going to destroy the session. Before destroying the session, we need to start the session. The session is already started in the index.php, so I'll directly end the session. Score fine. Now if I click on the logout, and after clicking on the logout I need to redirect it to the login.php file, location colon which is login.php, click on logout. Yes, it has redirected to the logout page. So again, now I'm getting into the inactive session, so the session is not active now. You are not active, so in place of a 0 result on login, we have 0 result. So we'll send the message that incorrect credentials. That means the database does not have the username and password which we have entered. You are not, your status is not active contact master. Fine. And now I have logged out. Now if I try to get into the index.php, it will redirect me to the login.php. If you see again, index.php, I am clicking on enter, it's redirecting to the login.php. It is because on the index.php I have used this. If the session is not set, then redirect to the login.php. Now if I see, I'll use the session which is active, which use the user which is active, and now you can see the index file. And if I get into the login, now my session is active. Now again if I get into the index, it will allow me to access the index file because my session is active. If I click on logout, the whole thing goes out. So let's meet in the next section. So we have completed the complete login system here. So in this section we are going to see create edit profile page, and then we are going to see the change. We can change the password of the user, and you can edit the email ID. So if you see, this is the registered user, I'm passing it. So before that, if you refresh it, you will see this is autocomplete, right? So what we do is we will make it autocomplete off on the login page. Autocomplete off. So if you refresh it after typing this, so it is not the functionality of input field, is the functionality of the Chrome which is providing these things. So we'll leave it. So in the profile page, on the header, We'll make it dark so that we can get black. We have to make text white. You see, this is how we have to write it on all the links. Or there could be another class which will by default make it. I'm not getting into it. Yeah, this is a PHP one. So this is a profile. We'll see profile.php. We'll create the profile.php file now. So as I said, we have a class. Just paste it. Navbar dark and bg dark. That would make this white navbar into dark color. So in the profile.php, we have created profile.php. Now here we need a database connection. PHP include db.php, and we need the header. So if I refresh, and you should see the Bootstrap links and the CDNs available. Fine. Now let's have the Bootstrap form, which is already available on the logout page, login page. So we'll copy the same thing and paste it over here. So instead we'll do nothing. Javascript : void. That means it won't get sent to the server on page submit. Fine. The message is okay. What are the fields we have in the user details? User ID, which is not editable, user name, user email, user password, and then we have user name, and then we have email. I think that's it. These two are for admins. User type, either a master or a user. The second one is status, whether it is active or inactive. So we don't need these two. We'll keep it at the top. Enter name. We'll make it uname. The name as uname. And this is the password section. Enter password. Re-enter password. If you don't want to change the password, what we do is, let's have a span tag. If don't want to change, leave it blank. If we don't want to change, what we do is we'll leave it blank. Class bg danger. It's a message. That's why I'm doing it. If I refresh it, let's make the text as white. And text center as fine. Enter password, re-enter password, and we have name. We need to just see the name of the input field. It should be right. I don't think this is needed. Let me replace it with nothing. It is taking spaces. We don't need ID for email, password, and a re-underscore password. and again we have a submit. Since this is a PHP file, we'll initialize it. It's a string, blank string, so the message error would be disappear. Error would disappear. It is text. So now, just by getting the session, which is already started in the header, $_session, we have created 3 sessions. Type let me copy paste it 2 times again. User ID, username, and with the help of select query we'll fetch the data, which we have already done here. This while loop is not iterated since we are fetching only one value with the help of where. Select from user details where, select all from user details where ID, where user ID is equal to the user ID. That's it. We don't need anything. Then we'll get the result. Once we get the result, we are checking whether if there is any data. Actually the data should be there because that's when we have created this session, so this is not needed. Again, for both of them, whether it is active or inactive, we need to show them. So we don't need the session, we have already created it. We don't need to redirect it, and we don't need curly braces as well. I have removed the while loop. We don't need to remove the while loop. Control Y. So this is the while loop. Comment it. So the result we are passing it to the MySQLi fetch associative array. So we can access it one by one. So let's check. Colon is missing. Let's remove this. It says we have not read the ID. So let me log in again. Log out. This guy is active. Let me type here. Now let me get into the profile. So by this time, let me echo the user ID. So the user ID is also available. I'm passing it over here. User details where user ID. Okay, you can see this is the mistake. Concatenation quotes, single quotes, again double quotes. Now it should work. Again there is an error. Let me see why. We are passing the result fetch association array. Great, the mistake was UID. U_ID. Actually I need to rename it over here as well. UID, and then we have uname, which is the column name. Sorry, this is the column name and this is the session name, isn't it? Let me check the session name here. Login. Okay, we'll use the same name so to avoid confusion. So let's check. Line number 6, 7, 8. Okay, the session is already created. That's a mistake. Log out. Let's log in again. So I have used it on the header or on the index page, I guess. Where is the index? We have somewhere used the session over here. Let's check where all places we have used session, because wherever we have used we have to change it. Fine, login, submit, profile. We're getting the value again. Line number error, line number 9 on the profile.php, line number 9. Here's one we don't need now, so we are able to fetch it. Now let's store it into a variable. From db underscore uid. The naming convention, the naming is making a very problem here. Let's skip it. We don't need a type. So uname, and we don't need a u type here, but we need the email. Email is the name where we have used here. This is the column name. So in place of the name we have a value. We'll remove the placeholder, it is taking up space. Control B. So PHP echo the variable which we have used here, username, this is for email, and let's have the password as well. User email over here, and then we have user password. So if I refresh it, you see the data is fetching. Vishal, the name which we have passed and the password we have passed. So let me, the navigation bar is not there. This is profile. Let's add the navigation on the index. So if I refresh, navbar would be available. Yes, you can see this is the profile. If I click on logout and make this guy as active, just to check on the profile page whether we are getting the name right or not. Profile, the name, email ID and the password. Now it's time. We'll make this guy as blank. We'll make this password as blank. We won't make this. Okay, now it's time for the JavaScript. Dollar. We have the ID on the button. The ID dot click to check whether it is working. Alert checking. Let me refresh and click on submit. We should get alert. Fine. Now we are checking whether these two values are the first value is blank or not. Checking if dollar hash the ID of the password, get the value. If it is not equal to blank, then do this, else do this. If it is not blank, then again if condition, you have to check both the password is equal to id dot re-enter password. If both of them are set, both of them are not set, then on the message we have a span tag over here with ID password validation dollar dot text incorrect password. Let's check. I'll type 123 and here 321. Click on submit. It says incorrect password. Instead of span, let us have the paragraph. 123 123 and 321. Click on submit. Incorrect password. Fine. If it is incorrect password, then return. Okay. Now let's get into the Ajax section. Create the form data variable and store all the form data. Forms, store all the form. This. So we have a form. Let us give the ID. Edit profile. Call this form dot serialize. So now this form data holds all the text fields. Now with the help of Ajax, dollar dot Ajax, we need to pass URL edit underscore profile dot php. Would be creating it now, and the method is post, and the data we are going to pass is form data, and the success message, the success function will display the data whatever we get, whatever is getting returned from the edit.php file. I'll just alert it just to show. So whatever it is going to return, we can get it in the alert. So let's create this, save it, and first open the PHP, and we are checking whether we are getting the form data $_post, the name of the field. Is not, if it is not blank or if it is set, just return the name, not the ordinary name but the name from the input field. Click on submit. Let's check the console if there is any error. There is no error. Yeah, there is an error, invalid. On line number 86, Control G, 86. Let us see what it is. Profile.php. Refresh it again. Click invalid shorthand initializer. Actually it is colon. Again there is a data. Form data is not defined. Serialize is a function. So instead of using click function, what we do is call the ID, call the file, and on submit I want to run this function. So now we just have to pass this. So this refers to the form. Again the form data is not set. So now just by using console I have made it. So if I refresh it, click on submit, you can see the name Agnel is showing up from the edit profile. Fine. Now using the serialize function, this is how the data is passed. Now we have to access all the values and let us store it into a variable. So likewise we have 4 fields: name, email ID, password. Name, email ID and password, only 3 fields, sorry for that. Access it using the name, uname, email, and then we have password. Now we need to use the update query of it. So to use SQL, what we need is a database connection. So let's include the database file, include db.php. On the table name user details, we have some set of fields which is user email, and we have user password, and then we have user name. So pass this username, email, password, username. The first one is email, the second one is password, and the third one is name. So if you remember, we are passing the blank. If it is blank, then the blank would be passed here. So we need to have some condition here as well. So the condition here is, if the password is not blank, then this one, else this one without password. Fine. Here the ID we are going to pass. The ID is simply the session. $UID, double quotes, single quotes, again double quotes, concatenation, this one. So let's check. Here instead of Agnel, we will add Agnel NADAR, which is my surname. Click on submit. Session, we have not used session. We have to start the session over here. Session underscore start. That's alright. If I refresh it, the data is now Agnel. So let me add my surname as well. Click on submit. Error updating record. You have error in MySQL syntax, or there is an error, it says. You can see this is a comma. We have used comma over some place which is not needed actually. Fine. If I refresh it again, add surname, click on submit. Error updating record, unknown column ID is found. ID, the column name we have used here is user ID. That's the reason. I think it is saved. Yes, it is saved. Now let's type on submit. Record updated successfully. Now if I refresh, Agnel Nada should show up. Fine. Now let's change the email address to my surname. Click on submit. Record updated successfully. So let's check on the database. Previously we have used username and password as same. Now yes, you can see it has been changed from Agnel to Agnel Nadar. Fine. Now let's change the database, name as well. We'll use the same thing as of the email. Let's check now. Now let's check this. Now one is entered and one is blank. Now it's time for the JavaScript. Record incorrect password. Instead of incorrect password, let's add which is profile.php, yeah, over here, and the span tag is password does not match. If I refresh it and type the same name, and I'll type here 123, it is not going to allow me to, it is not going to send these data to the edit profile.php. Password does not match. If I copy paste the same thing, that means this both of them does match now. Now if I click on submit, the data should go and the data should update on the database. Now if I see previously at gmail.com, gmail.com password. Now it is Agnalnadar and Agnalnadar. Now you can see the username, the profile page is properly edited. Now if I click on logout and if I log in with the name agnalnadar@gmail.com, it will have. And if I click on profile Agnalnadar, fine. If I click on logout and if I try with this guy Vishal, again I'm going to give it, change my surname. Click on data successfully. So let's check. We have just changed the username, not password. So we change the password as well. I have used the password, and if one script will run and the data will not send to the edit profile. So let me use the same thing which I have used here. Now these both thing matches. Now the data will be sent to the server and the record updated successfully. Now if I click on file or if I click on log, now I would be able to log in with the new username, new password. Fine. That's all for this video. Let's meet in the next section.